See if this 84 starter still works. There are times when tractor hunting, it's good to know other people who like to junkyard hunt. So my friend Mark ended up seeing this machine and we talked about it, and when I was over there I took a couple of pictures where it was. And he ended up over there again today and junkyard grabbed it for me. So we've got $50 invested into this gamble, and we'll have to see whether we bought a totally dead doornail waste of time or whether we ended up picking up something we can turn into, I don't know. That steering wheel is adorable. That'll have to be figured out. Tires are, we can attempt to inflate. Those GT tires on the front there are holding. Mark does heavy towing and requires 4 points of tie down for everything. Can you tell? I think he slightly overkilled the poor GT. Hey, look at that. That's two GT tires that actually hold air. That rate in itself is worth 50 bucks. And that tread there is actually holding air. So we'll get this thing unloaded and hopefully tomorrow we'll take a look. I didn't buy this to mow with. I bought this to see if we could at least get it back up and running and be able to go take it for a drive. It's a little bit unclear as to what year this is. It's somewhere around an 83 to an 84, which means that either I was being born the year it was made or I was 1 year old. It ended up sitting for somewhere in the ballpark of 23 to 25 years in the location that I first saw it. It has not run in at least 25 years, and that's just based on where it is the location was and the timeline we can figure out from there. Now, I ended up having to hunt around a lot in order to be able to find a manual for this. I could not find any place that actually had a manual that was stored online, but I did find a PDF that seems to match this. I'll make sure there's a link for that in the description. I also will make sure there's the model number I found on this and the corresponding 2 model numbers for the Murray equivalent of this unit. Now, this is an Agway, but it's a rebranded GT Murray. It's an 1846 series. And we're going to see if we can tear it down. The deck has been sitting on the ground, rotting away for 25 plus years. There's no way we're going to save the deck. It has holes all through it. I'll show you once we finally get it ripped off of this thing. Do I think we can make it run and drive? I think so. As long as we don't mind ripping an engine out of something. But, anyways, moving on. Normally you guys see me working with this skill impact through most of my videos. And I've made it overly apparent in several videos that I think this thing is nowhere near worth the $160 that they charge for one of these. And that I have been highly disappointed with it. Well, apparently that didn't fall on deaf ears, because KIMO got a hold of me about this Ratchet, and as you guys know, I have said that I love this thing, and it does exactly what it should for being a $90 Ratchet. It's just as strong as I would expect. It works as good as I would expect. I can literally tear down and take the tops off of at least 3, 4, sometimes 5 machines before I end up having to charge a battery on this thing. It is well worth the $90 to be able to go out into my junkyard and pull valve covers, pull coils, pull everything. Well, KIMO also makes an impact. Now, to put it here for comparison, KIMO claims that their impact is 250 foot-pounds. And the skill claims that it's 200, and I kind of don't think that it really is. So for this video, we're going to be working with this KIMO. We're going to see what it actually does. At $109, if it really actually does the 250 foot-pounds, then it's amazing the investment that this is compared to the skill. But that's enough talking. Let's get ripping things apart. Oh, you're probably wondering what I meant by this. This unit here originally came with a 18 horsepower Briggs & Stratton opposed twin. Now it does turn, and we're going to see if we can revive it. But if all else fails, we've got another one right here. This machine, I'll spin the camera. This machine, a friend of mine needs a machine for his son to start doing some yard work. He just needs a free machine that he's able to go mow some grass with and be able to go and make some money. And then if he wants to, he'll buy a better machine next year. So we've got a little 13, I believe, 13.5 here that we're going to take and we're going to stuff into this, and we're going to send it over to him so that he can make some money, because teenagers that actually want to do something these days are pretty rare. Now, on another note, I've got this pair of tires here. These are tubed, and I'll make sure to include a link for tubes that actually worked for these, because I've had tubes that didn't work for this size in the past. These are off of a GT6000, but in theory, they should be the exact same rims that are on the Peerless 2300 that should be what's in this. Now, one notation here is that these are the directions that I found, which are for the Murray, but they should be the same for the Agway. And there's a couple of notations here. And one notation is that on the drivetrain here, now, this one here, this set of directions is for an 87-ish, so I don't know whether we're going to have this type of brake, because I know on some of the Roper transmissions that this didn't happen until the, I think it's late 80s into early 90s. And so I don't know that we'll find that. And this belt, the only thing I could find listed for that belt was this number right here, which is 3726. And that cross references to a Craftsman size belt that was 88 inches. So I bought an 88-inch belt, and we're going to see if that cross reference ends up being correct. So this thing has definitely seen better days. Let's set this aside. Now I'm going to set this down and grab the camera, and let's take a walk around here. What's amazing is that after 20 plus years of sitting, that tire, and that tire, all without tubes, hold air. Now these ones here seem to be okay, but the rears are really, really badly dry rotted, which is why it is we have those we're going to put on. That one there is so bad that there's like little chunks of rubber actually falling off of it if you rub your hand across it. So those tires are just unsafe without question. So those are coming off. This thing has been in some sort of rollover of some kind. The hood is all mangled. This is all bent up. The steering stuff is long since gone, and the whole bracket down there is bent. So we're going to have to disassemble all of that and see if we can bend it back enough in order to fix it, or fabricate a bracket. I'm not sure what we're going to end up doing there. And as you can see, somebody was in this, and it has the really old school style starter on it, which is why it's got this cap thing. They had a hog ring top on the newer style, and they had this cap thing on the older style. So this is most likely an original starter on here. And as you can see, it does actually attempt to rotate. But if you look, when I rotate that, it is bound on that deck, and that deck is utterly seized. There are portholes through the entire deck, and every single one of the deck pulleys is seized up and everything, so we're not going to even bother trying with that most likely. And I haven't even tried to see if these knobs will move. That'd be a no, Ghost Rider. And what about this one? Oh, that actually moved. Did it move on this end? Holy cow, that actually moves. So, we've got a carb that is stuck in the choke position, and you can see there's dirt and grime down in there. So I don't have much hope for this. But, let's see if we can make it run, shall we? Well, let's see what happens with this 35 years worth of rust rear end here. I'll tell you one thing, you have to be really careful about how fast this thing is. So that went good. I was expecting that to work. Now let's see if we can get these to come off. There's one. Two. Nice. Whoa! Now we're going to send those to go get some new tires put on them. We got these Sears tires that came off of a GT6000. It should bolt right on. It should be the same exact pattern. We'll find out real quick here. Man, that hub does not make it fun. There we go. Ah, not quite. There we go. Well, there. Passed the first test. Now we'll get the other side done. Well, I think what I've decided as far as taking this deck down is concerned is that the entire deck seems to be held in place by ghetto riggery. So I think what I'm going to do is come around to the front here, and this is all rust welded to the point that these will not move. This one wasn't even actually in correctly, but it is rust welded to the point it will not move. So I think what I'm going to do is grab a grinder and slice this rod off, because this rod is at least replaceable if by some miracle somebody wants to buy this deck or something for restoration. I don't want to destroy the deck, because a lot of you guys, after I pull stuff like this, will get a hold of me because you're in like Massachusetts or something and you're looking for something like this. So we're not going to destroy this deck. We're going to slice this, pound that out to either side, and then it looks as if I unhook that wire there and then undo the cotter pin on that side, which yet again is some ghetto nail. And we should be able to get the deck out from underneath here. There. Well, apparently if you were an old-timer back 30 years ago and you wanted to bypass the safety on this deck, that would be apparently how you did it. Good to know. So we're going to slice it off there because we don't intend to use this ever again. And then we're going to undo the ghetto fix here and then go from there. Okay, there's that. Oh, we need to fix the guard in a better position. Okay. Now, making sure not to catch my chest with that. Let's see what we can do here. I'll lift it and maybe pull it towards me, maybe. There we go. Alright, so, yeah, look, this is rust welded onto here. This is what I warn you guys about all the time. See, that doesn't want to come off of there at all. There it goes. And there's some sort of little holder nub down here. There it goes. See that right there? That is what happens. It rust welds right directly onto it and will not let go. Alright, well, obviously it's got to come this way, judging from this. So, I guess what I'm going to do is see if I can get it to come around the tire. But I don't think it's going to fit. I got a feeling I got to jack up the front to do this. Yep, the front's got to be jacked up in order to get this thing to come out of here. So we're going to roll that forward and jack it up and go from there. Try this again in a second. Move that as far forward as we can and get that out of gear so it'll move and go. I tell you what, I like that KIMO. That thing's actually really quick and definitely pretty decently powerful. Let's see if I can drop this whole thing on myself. And make sure to put that board back where it goes. Holy old iron Batman. Alright, this is way too heavy for me to lift by myself.
What's up, Buttercup?
So I'm going to get it over to the edge and drop this thing, roll it off to the side. Like I said, if somebody's interested in this and you just saw the video posted, email me as usual, and we'll go from there. You know, at first glance, I was like, wow, that blade's in great condition. This thing's not that badly beaten. Maybe I should try and save it after all. And then I came over here and I went like this. And I got it stuck in my lift. That has seen way better days. That blade is just obliterated. And look at this. That's pretty smart. They actually used the bottom of a regular spindle in order to make the upper pulley pivot. That's rather neat. Now let's get that thing unstuck out of my lift, shall we? Alright, so I know you guys want to see if I can get this motor running, and I am not against that. But John just pointed out there is a major flaw in the way this motor currently is. So if John zooms in on this horrifically duct taped together coil, listen really carefully and watch. So that coil is duct taped and it's hitting on the flywheel. So we're going to throw a Chinesium coil on here really quickly, rewire it, and then we'll see if we can make it spark. Alright guys, whatever deity you choose to pray to, let's try it. Oh, there's one, and it did come out all the way. There's two, and it actually came off. So we're going to throw a brand new Chinesium on there and try that later. And I'm loving this thing. So I have really big hands. John, on the other hand, does not. And just wanted to point out, turn this way. See how his fingers are just barely coming around it? Whereas on this, he's almost all the way around it. So if you have somebody with smaller hands, that actually would fit better. It's my one complaint that I actually have, is if I hold it, my fingers actually wrap all the way around, whereas if I hold this, my fingers as a large hand are comfortable. But I'd rather go with stronger and a little discomfort. How about you, John?
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta take a break in order to go help friends. And look at what was discovered inside this truck that we're working on today. I wonder how short the driver actually is. Alright, let's try some lug nuts with this on the Ranger we're swapping tires over today. There's one. There's two. Oh, had to try a little harder for three. There's four. And there's five with no problems. I'm really liking this thing. Alright, so here we go. We got our new coil on. We've got original spark plugs to the machine. We're going to put some bottle baby in here. It turned out that just the choke cable was stuck in the cabling. And let's give it some juice. See if this 84 starter still works. That actually debated coming to life. Let's give it some more bottle baby and try again. Give it a lot of bottle baby. And kick over our Hulkman here. Okay, we got override, and let's see what we can do. Oh, there we go. We throw a carburetor on there, or we hook up this one and see what's going on. We might actually get this thing to run on its own engine. John, what did you just point out?
What happened there?
Apparently there was some water in the exhaust or something. There's the exhaust pipe down there. My lift needs a bath. How much you gonna charge me to clean my lift?
$50. I mean, no, 100.
You're not nice.
500 actually.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to see if we can put some gas into the system and see if this ancient 35-year-old carburetor is clogged up or messed up or whatever, and go from there. So I rigged up this. It's just a gas tank off of, I think it was a really large push mower or something like that. I use these quite often because you can bungee cord them into all kinds of different locations. And as we've talked about many times, if you use a small container, then it means that you know that you can pour the gas directly back out into that container and not have issues. Ow, that hurt. I just took a chunk out of my knuckle. And let's give it some bottle, baby, in order to get it primed. And we're going to pour a little bit down through the holes here if we can, in order to help prime the carb. There we go. Alright. Now on our Hulkman, we push both these buttons to override. And see what happens. Almost. Almost. I think our problem is we got too much fuel right now, but let's try it one more time. Oh, Hulkman override shut off. Alright, so the Hulkman has a 4 attempt error. We've gotten past it. Let's try this one more time. Okay, we're gonna set that choke to open and see if it's just plain flooded. Well, I would say that we probably should fix the steering. There we go. Had to get it grounded out correctly. So that fired on its own carburetor. That's amazing. So at this point, I think we should probably tear apart this rag joint steering, which is beyond bent from whatever happened to this poor thing, and see if we can rig something together to take it for a test drive. What do you think, John? Cool?
Yes.
Yes? What's the thing behind you?
Diesel-eater.
And where can they go to see more video on Diesel-eater?
SXG Racing.
That's right. Okay. There we go. So now we got to unbend all of this from the bottom. Looks as if it's a couple of 1/2-inch bolts and a 9/16 on the other side, but it should come across. And then we take a BFG, I mean a BFH, sorry, gamer reference, and bend it out straight. There we go. We got the steering column and the rag joint out of there, and it was really important to me to pull this rag joint out and be able to measure it and make sure that everything is square when we make another one of these. I think what I'm going to do is probably just cut the outside of an old tire off and drill through it in order to make another rag joint. The depth of it doesn't seem to go and be the thing. It seems to be the flexibility without bending. And a few of the write-ups that I saw on some old forums said to use the thickest rubber that you can find that still flexes. So I think at this point we're going to grab a couple of these Turf Saver tires and maybe cut some pattern out of them to use. And as far as the steering wheel goes, we're going to see if we can bend it straight and potentially use it, because it looks like just the outside plastic is messed up and it's obviously a metal core. The steering column looks to be mediocrely square. The ends are not overly screwed up. That right there should bend straight pretty simply. So this square end here goes, trying to do this on camera one-handed, like that, in order to make the rag joint. And then these holes here line up on the other side of these. And as you can see, that is not square, that is bent. So I got to fix that. And this looks as if it is pressed together and welded. So I can't replace those bushings as far as I can tell. So we're going to do our best not to screw it up, bend it as straight as we can in the vise, and see if we can throw it back together. And I did grab the front end and move it around, and all of the tie rods and everything and the steering knuckles actually flex. So we'll see if we can throw it back together and maybe test drive this thing. There we go. So original carb, rigged up gas tank, brand new HIPAA coil, and some Turf Saver. I tried to bend this real quick, and whatever it's made out of just does not want to bend back, so we bolted it in place. It's easy enough to undo this hub and weld on like a Craftsman hub or something. So if we decide to run it, we'll do that. But there we are. I'm going to throw you guys into the stand and we're going to see if we can take this thing for its first test drive. Now, as it is right now, we do not have a choke hookup. So we're just going to leave it as fully open and hope it doesn't bounce shut. And we don't have any of the electrical hooked up. We're just rigging this straight to the starter. Okay, here we go.
Right here. There we go.
There we go, guys. So it runs, it drives. It obviously is never going to mow again. That deck is just not restorable. Again, if somebody needs the control handles and stuff off of that and you want to come get it, get a hold of me. I'll hold on to it for about a month or so from airing this video. But yeah, I'd say that was a pretty good tractor hunt video. Have fun, guys.